Your Excellency, President of Ukraine, dear Volodymyr, Speaker of Verkhovna Rada, Prime Ministers, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. We gather here at the 4th summit of the International Crimea Platform to condemn Russian aggression that began 10 years ago. Today we continue to live in the reality defined by Russia's illegal occupation and annexation of the Crimean Peninsula. Every new atrocity committed by Russia against the people of Ukraine, every rocket strike against civilian infrastructure, every innocent person detained and tortured in the occupied territories is part of the tragic narrative that began in Crimea. And this story must end in Crimea as well. Lithuania will never recognize the occupation and illegal annexation of Ukrainian territories. For us, it is about respecting international law. In Ukraine's plight, we see the dark shadows of Lithuanian history. The occupation and annexation by the Soviet Union back in 1940. To this day, we remember the brutal executions, political repressions, and mass deportations. We believe such actions must never be forgotten and accepted by the international community as a new normal. In the first half of the 20th century, the map of Europe was forcibly redrawn once again by totalitarian regimes. We cannot allow Kremlin to do the same in the 21st century. We cannot live in the world where might makes right. That is why Lithuania today is a proud member and active member of the International Crimea Platform. We are ready to support Ukraine's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. We are eager to see all occupied territories liberated. Russia's brutal colonial policies carried out in Crimea include severe restrictions of the rights of local residents, among them the Crimean Tatars, the persecution of dissenting voices, expropriation, constraints on independent organizations, forced conscription in the Russian army, and many more actions by the occupying authorities represent grave violations of international humanitarian law. Russia and its accomplices must be held accountable for the many human rights abuses in the occupied territories, as well as for the genocidal war crimes and the very crime of aggression. For this, we urgently need a special international tribunal. I would like to thank the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights for doing a tremendous job monitoring and reporting human rights violations in Crimea. It is my belief that many international organizations, including the United Nations and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, should be more outspoken about Russia's illegal occupation and human rights abuses in Crimea. Every day and on every occasion, Russia must be reminded that Crimea is Ukraine. Russia's reign of terror in Crimea and other occupied Ukrainian territories must end. Today, Lithuania calls for the immediate release of all Ukrainian citizens, including Crimean Tatars, human rights defenders, journalists, and civic activists who remain illegally detained and imprisoned by Russia. Irina Danilovich, Lenia Umerova, Bohdan Ziza, Enver Krosh, Vilen Temiryanov, Emir Hussein Kuku, Galina Dovgopola, Server Mustafayev, Vladislav Yesupenko, and many others must be set free. Russia must withdraw from all the occupied Ukrainian territories, ending this brutal 10 years war. Until this happens, Lithuania will stand by your side. We will support you for as long as it takes. Slava Ukraini!